I'm Jessica Valant. I'm a physical therapist, women's health expert, and Pilates teacher, and my goal is to help all women feel strong, safe, and secure in their bodies. In this podcast, I'll share expert advice, facts, amazing guests, stories, compassion, and hope to help you meet your body in all seasons of life. Well, hi, and welcome back to Meet Your Body. We are doing something a little bit different today. We are talking about books. We're talking about books. We're talking about reading. One of my very, 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 very favorite things to talk about. And this kind of topic came up for a couple reasons. One, it's full on summer. Full on summer here when I'm recording. You probably even hear the kids in the background playing. And so a summer reading list seemed like it might be a good thing to talk about right now. Another reason is I kind of brought up in passing and almost half jokingly during one of my unlimited coffee chats recently with members, something about doing a book club. And I was amazed at how many of you showed interest in that. So I have a feeling you guys might like books and reading as much as I do. And then I also wanted to take the opportunity because next week on the podcast, we are having one of my favorite people in the world. Her name is Lauren Moore, and she runs an online community and book retreats, and her company is called Book Huddle. And so I thought it would be fun before that episode to talk about some of my favorite books with you all. So this is just really meant to be kind of me telling you what I love about books. I'm giving you some of my favorite books. Like I said, this isn't necessary. These are fairly recent books, but really over maybe the past 3-4 years that I've read these books that have stuck with me, but some very current books as well. So you can take notes, you can write them down, take it for what it's worth. We can just have our own little book club right here today. So I have loved books for as long as I can remember, my entire life. English was my favorite subject through high school. I was just a voracious reader. I mean, I was that babysitter club reader. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Nancy Drew, the original Nancy Drew books. I mean, I love them all. Love it. And reading has carried me through everything. I mean, I just love books. I love reading so much. I love to hold a book in my hand. So I'll tell you like what my habit is around reading. So first off, I get them from the library almost exclusively and read them on my Kindle. Just because I go through so many books and that just seems to make the most sense to me. So I will go in the library, I'll get on the wait list for things or I'll borrow them. I have a wish list and then I read them on my Kindle. So I don't have like a Goodreads account or anything like that, by the way. It's really just me doing this for pleasure. So I read on my Kindle. I tend to read at night. That was the only time I read is I'll read at night when I'm getting the kids to sleep and then a little bit before bed. So I tend to do that. And then on any airplane I'm ever on, I'm reading. And then if I find books I just love that really stick with me, I will buy a hard copy to keep. And for like self-help books, I do tend to buy those more so I can mark them up. But I'll kind of talk you through those as I go through my favorites. So yeah, typically it's on my Kindle and I'm reading, especially fiction books. I will just read straight through my Kindle. I go through probably 2 to 4 books a month, depending on what the book is and what season of life I'm in. But usually it can easily be a book a week, at least the fiction books. And it takes me much longer to go through like my medical books and the self-help books and all of that. That takes me longer, the education books, because again, I'm marking them up and taking time. But typically I'm going to read fiction at night and I plow through it. And so the categories, this is what I'm going to kind of give you for categories. I'm going to tell you first, I'll tell you first the categories that I tend to read. This is where we're going to break it down into. So one is fantasy and magic. And yes, I know it's like a new category, romantasy, some people call it. I absolutely love them. And it's not really new for me, I have to say. So some of my favorite books of all time are the Lord of the Rings books. Hands down, some of my favorite books of all time. I love those books and I'll watch the movies over and over and over and over again. So I've always loved kind of fantasy magic kind of, and I love the new genre that's coming out. I truly do. So I have that as a category. And then within that category is mystery magic. And I'll tell you what that means, but it's kind of two different pieces. And then rom-coms. I don't like romance books. So that I will lay out. But there's again kind of this new genre over the past couple of years of like romantic comedy, domestic comedy, relationship kind of comedy books. So that's a category. And then thriller and mysteries. And then what I call domestic mysteries that are also kind of called women's fiction right now fits into that category. And then the final category is women's health and self-help. So nonfiction books is that last category. So I'm going to tell you what I don't read just so you know what to expect. I do not read historical fiction, and I know it is amazing, and I know there are beautiful, truly, truly magical, amazing books out there in the world of historical fiction. Truly, it's too hard for me to read. So if you look back at the categories I just mentioned, they're pretty light for the most part. Like even the thrillers I read, I can go through them pretty fast, and they're fairly light. My subconscious will take in anything I read. So if it's anything too heavy, like real life true crimes, I don't read. I don't read the really hard historical fiction. Again, it's just too hard, and maybe that's escapism on my part, but that's what I do. So that's hard for me to read. I don't read anything where bad things happen to kids. Like that is a deal breaker for me. And then like mysteries that are too close to true crime, that have serial killers that are really, really dark. Anything that would limit my ability to walk to my car at night in the dark by myself, I don't read those. Because again, my subconscious will not let me. If I read anything like that, it sticks with me for weeks and I dream about it and I just can't do it. I know myself. So I'm just going to be honest that our list today will not include any of those, even though, yes, I know there are some amazing books and authors out there in the historical fiction, especially that category. That's just not the reason I don't bring them up, is because I don't read them, because I know myself and they're too hard for me to read. So let's get into books, okay? Are you ready? You're going to take notes if you want. I'm going to tell you some of my favorites. So we are starting with magic/fantasy mysteries. There is this amazing genre out there right now that, yes, involves magic/fantasy, like a different world, right? That are mysteries. And I love them so much. My favorite ones are the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab. So it's the darker, and all of this you can just Google. If you Google Darker Shade of Magic books, they're by V.E. Schwab. I can't say enough good things. Like, I just love these books. And I'm going to be honest, this whole category, these books I'm going to tell you, are very unique. They are truly unique, and they're not something I would have said, oh, I'm going to love that. But that, now that I know that I do, they're easy for me to find. So they have that mystery component. They have really deep relationships, but they are built in a world of magic. And I don't know what it is, but it's something that, again, it kind of allows me to get out of real world and into this other world. So I don't know how to say it except to say I can't relate it back to my real life. And that's helpful in the world of fiction to me right now in the world. Like, it calms my nervous system instead of making it more anxious, because it's just a world that doesn't really exist. So I can kind of escape into it. And not that I'm trying to escape anything. I love my life. But I don't like to get into anything right now that reminds me too much of how hard the world actually is. And that's a privilege that I can do, but that is what I want to do in my fiction books. So the magic component really allows me to do that. It's fascinating to me when it's a great author. Like, the world building is so interesting. So those are my favorite. Darker Shade of Magic trilogy. And then another standalone book by V.E. Schwab is called Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I think it's a really personal feeling if you love this book or not. A lot of people do. And then I know some people who just felt like it was too slow and they couldn't follow it. But I love that book, and that's a standalone, really interesting, beautifully written book. So another series, there's 2 of these, okay? But the first one is called The Tainted Cup, and it's by Robert Jackson Bennett. It is truly one of the strangest books I've ever read. And then the second one is called A Drop of Corruption, and it just came out. And it's not, I would say it's a sequel, but it's also not. You can read them completely independently. It's more like the trilogy I mentioned before, you need to read them all together. It's a story told over the 3 books. There's actually a 4th one out even now. But these 2 are just characters that carry over. But the story itself is wrapped up. The mystery itself is wrapped up in that one book. And I really like that because you can just read one and not feel like it's a cliffhanger. Because sometimes it's not fun to have cliffhangers. So The Tainted Cup. And I just recommend, if you love Sherlock Holmes, like if you love that quirkiness, but the mystery and a really like high working brain of the main character, but you add this crazy magic world to it, then you'll love it. And it's so well written. And I just really loved that book. Again, it's very unique. So I do not blame you if you get into it and you say, I'm not really following along, but I think some of you will love it. So again, if you really like that Sherlock Holmes kind of idea, the slow burn mystery with lots of twists and turns, but then you add a heavy layer of world building to it, you will really like it. So that's called The Tainted Cup. And then my other favorites are actually, there's 3 of them, and they're by a single author, and the author is Stuart Turton. So the last name is Turton, and he wrote a book called 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, and then Devil in the Dark Water, and The Last Murder at the End of the Road. And I love them all, and it's the same idea. They're mysteries, and so they really keep me intrigued, but there's lots of character building and relationships, and then this side of magic. And The Devil in the Dark Water is my favorite of those. I literally read it 2 times in a row. I finished it, and once everything was revealed, I said, oh my gosh, I have to read it again now that I know what's happening. I love it. All right, so that is kind of the magic fantasy mystery category. And then there's the category you've probably heard about so much, and that is like romantasy. So fantasy with a heavy dose of like romance between the main characters, but still lots of like drama, I would say, and thriller component, not so much mystery, but the thriller and constantly moving, and they tend to be a series of books. And all these new books coming out have a lot of spice. So I'm going to let you know that. These next books all have spice. They all fall into that category of like romantasy. So we have ACOTAR, what probably all of you have heard of. Yes, A Court of Thrones and Roses. There are 4 main books with that, and there's another one coming out at some point, and they're by Sarah J. Maas. And yes, I think they're great. Absolutely. They are not the pedestal. I don't put that on the pedestal that I compare all others to, because I actually really like the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy more personally, but they are so fun. They're so fun, and the characters are so great. And you can just immerse yourself in this world. Like if you just want to immerse yourself in a new and different world and get into some other characters, and yes, I'm going to warn you, there's some heavy spice involved in those books. But that's a great series. So that's the ACOTAR series, A Court of Thrones and Roses. Next, that most people know, is the 4th Wing series by Rebecca Yarros. So the 4th Wing series. So ACOTAR has, again, beautiful world building and lots of magic. And then 4th Wing, again, magic, great world building. It is younger characters a little bit because it's about a college. So it's slightly younger characters around that college age, and they're elders in the college, and there's dragons. And you guys, I love the dragons. They're my favorite part. They're so good. Lots of spice in this one too. But that's the main difference to me. ACOTAR, I do like the magic more, and I like the story more. And I generally like the characters more in ACOTAR, but I love the dragons in 4th Wing. I love the character. They're characters, and they're great. So I do love 4th Wing. Then a few others in this category. Spark of the Everflame. That's probably my next favorite. That's by Penn Cole. There's 4 of those. And again, we're waiting because that ended on a cliffhanger. So we're waiting on the next one. So Spark of the Everflame. That was a direct recommendation from Lauren, who I mentioned. Those are great books. And then another one that I don't hear talked about as much, but I really enjoyed, was the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. So the Red Queen series, and it follows the same, and it's going to have less spice to it. So if you're looking for less spice and like a little more of a gentle read, I feel like for whatever reason, it just felt like a little bit of a more gentle read to me. And maybe because it's the series finished up, you're not waiting for another book on a cliffhanger. I really enjoyed the Red Queen series. And so those are some series in that fantasy, romantasy kind of genre that I've enjoyed, and I really will try a lot that come out. So there's the Witch Collector series I really enjoyed. We're still waiting for that next book. The Quicksilver series, waiting for that next book. So those are some that I really like in that area. Okay, let's go to rom-com. And again, I don't know why I'm calling it that. That's just the only kind of category I can think is, again, it more centers on the romance of a couple characters, right? Like, okay, they meet. I mean, the stories are so similar, you guys, right? Like, okay, they meet, they can't be together, or they are enemies from years past, or they have a history, but then they have to work together, then they have to go to a wedding together, then they get stuck on a deserted island together, and they end up together. I mean, you could write the book. We all could. The story's very similar. But I like how much other involvement there tends to be. I like the comedy part. That's really big to me. I like the side characters. I like the family relationships. I like the friendship relationships. And there's usually some kind of mystery involved as well, like something that you're trying to figure out. And so I'm just going to, on these, give you authors that I enjoy, because to be honest, a lot of their books are so similar. I mean, they're interchangeable to me. The author's own books. And that might sound like I don't actually like them, but I do. I don't mind that they're interchangeable. I know that when that author comes out with a new book, I'm going to read it and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not staking my life on it. It does not become one of my top 10 favorite books. I don't expect it to. It is just enjoyable. It's enjoyable and it's lighthearted, and I like them. So these are the authors in that category that you might want to check out and try. Abby Jimenez is probably my favorite. Abby Jimenez, and she does have one that stands out above the rest to me called Life's Too Short. And her books are interesting in that, again, they're all individual books, so they're standalone, but some of the characters carry over, so it's really fun to kind of read them and say, oh my gosh, I remember that main character. That was a side character from the last book. So what she tends to do is take one of the side smaller characters and make it the main character in the next book. And so I really like that. That's really cool. So Abby Jimenez. And then on the others, I'm just going to name the authors that I have really liked most of their books. Emily Henry is a great author to write down and take note for. Catherine Center, Center. Christina Lauren. And Christina Lauren is actually two authors. It's two women who write together, but they write under the name Christina Lauren. And she was the first one that I really found in this category. So if you're trying to find like an entryway into this category, I really like Christina Lauren's books and Abby Jimenez's books. Those are probably my two favorite in this category. And then Carly Fortune is another one. Last name Fortune. And then I have to give like an honorable mention to Allie Hazelwood. So Allie, A-L-I, and then last name Hazelwood. So she's a little bit different, and all of her books center around science. Like I think she has a heavy background in science and STEM. So her characters are always extremely smart women in the areas of STEM. And then of course they meet a man and all the chaos ensues. And I will also tell you they are heaviest like in the spice area in these books. So I'm just giving you that as a footnote. I'm just letting you know, do with the information what you would like, either by avoiding them, or maybe you say, oh, then I'm going to start with her. But she is just more, like those books are more for fun for me. To be honest, I don't think they're as deep in the storyline as some of the others, but they are fun and I enjoy them. And then this next category is kind of that domestic thriller category that I mentioned, and it's the same. I'm just going to give you authors because you're going to recognize most of them most likely, and they're all very similar, and each of them has some books that I loved and then some that I didn't like as much, but they're all really similar that they are more that domestic thriller, meaning it's focusing on a husband and wife, or a lot of times a neighborhood and different partners or different families in that neighborhood, and some kind of mystery ensues. And I like them because they give me that mystery kind of vibe, which I really, really like. But it doesn't involve the kids. It's not super, it's not, how can I say this? It's not bloody typically. It's not super, super dark. It's more that mystery idea. That's why I like them. So the authors I really tend to go to in this category are Megan Miranda and Ruth Ware, Sherry Lapena, last name that is Lapena, and Rachel Hawkins, and Alice Feeney. Those are all authors that I tend to, if they have a new book, I will read it. And to be honest, there are some times I'm not afraid to not finish a book. And some of those authors will have a new one come out, and I will read halfway and say, I just can't, I'm not enjoying this. I don't like it. I will skip to the end to find out what happens. But occasionally they will come up with one that I don't like, but I still try it. I still will absolutely try it. And then a couple honorable mentions here is a book called First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. That's Elston. So First Lie Wins. I loved that book. It kept me guessing the whole time, which is not normal for me. A lot of times I can guess what's happening. I really, really loved that book. So try First Lie Wins. And then a book called Black Widows by Kate Quinn. Last name Cuinn. Kate Quinn. Black Widows. It was just different. It was just a different kind of mystery that I hadn't read before, and I really, really liked it. So those are two honorable mentions. Okay, and then I want to go into self-help, and then stay tuned, though, because I'm going to tell you a lot of notable honorable mentions and also my favorites of all time. Before that, sorry, I have one other little category that I didn't know what to call this. I actually had to look it up. And online, they're calling this category contemporary fiction or women's fiction. And I'm giving it to you because it's two of my favorite authors of all time. One is Taylor Jenkins Reid. So last name Reid. I love every single one of her books. My favorites are Daisy Jones and the Six and Carrie Soto is Back. She's an amazing writer. There's always a kind of, not necessarily a mystery to solve, but just lots of unknown pieces around families and relationships and the storyline and trying to bring it together, but yet it is very relatable. It always has pieces of being heartwarming in it. She's an amazing writer, and every single one of her books I have loved, and she has a new one out called Atmosphere that I haven't read yet. But that's Taylor Jenkins Reid, and then the other author is Leanne Moriarty, Moriarty. You've probably heard of her without even knowing it, possibly because of two huge shows that have been really big hits. The first was Big Little Lies, huge hit on TV, and she wrote that book. And then 9 Perfect Strangers was also done for TV. I read anything that she comes out with, and my favorite is a recent one, and I'm going to give you the name of it because I have it here in my notes and I don't want to say it wrong. Here One Moment. So Here One Moment is her most recent, and again, I think it's personal preference, obviously. Books always are always personal preference. I adored this book. I didn't want it to end. I really, really loved it so much. And then she has a few others. The Last Anniversary is one that I really like too. But again, I've read all of her books. And it's always centered around family. It's always based in Australia. And there's always an interesting mystery involved. Always. And sometimes they're harder to read than others, only in that occasionally the mystery will involve more family dynamics. But they always wrap up. And again, in a way that leaves me with some hope, which I really, really, really appreciate. So those are two of my favorites. And I wanted to definitely mention those two authors here because that's kind of a category that, again, I had to look up. But contemporary fiction or women's fiction, they're calling it. Okay, and then just a couple notable books that I didn't know where to put in these categories, but are some of my favorites. One is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and that's coming out as a movie in the next few months, and it is such a good book. It's a science fiction book, different than a lot of these others that I've mentioned. Oh, but it's really good. Project Hail Mary, if you like science fiction, if you like outer space, you will like it a lot. Anxious People, on the other hand, it is just it's about a group of people, and I don't want to give too much away. It's about a group of people. It would probably fall into that kind of domestic thriller mystery place, but the characters are amazing. Just add all these to your to read books or to read list. But the characters are amazing, and it's so well written. And then another one is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman, and that's a few years old too. But again, amazing characters. A small mystery involved with it, but you'll just leave that book feeling better than when you started it. Okay, women's health and self-help books that I would recommend that have just been amazing in my life. Number one is called This Here Flesh by Cole Arthur Riley. It is the story of her life in some ways. So it has pieces of memoir. And it really is a lesson about connecting to your body again in beautiful stories and again, memories. And it is a book that took me almost 2 years to really get through because I was just in it. Like I was in every paragraph. I highlighted so much. She is the author behind the Black Liturgy's Instagram account, which is, again, beautifully written, and just, she is a voice I feel like all of us could benefit from. And so that would be my number one recommendation. It's called This Here Flesh, and it is a beautiful, beautiful book about connecting to your body. Burnout by the Nagoski sisters. That's Amelia and Emily Nagoski. Nagoski. I reference this book all the time. So they wrote a book, it's called Burnout, and it explains why so many of us, especially women, are in a constant state of burnout and what that does to our nervous systems and how we can get out of it, that chronic fight or flight and place of stress. And it is amazing, science-based, lots of stories, lots of things you can apply to your own life. So I highly recommend that book called Burnout. The Wisdom of Your Body by Dr. Hilary McBride is another one, again, connecting to your body, and it's going to dive more into the science and the psychology of embodiment and how you need to connect to your body in order for anything else to really kind of work in the areas of health, fitness, getting joy out of life, vitality, all of those things. We need to first find that connection to our body that most of us have lost along the way. It is an amazing book, and Dr. McBride is just a leader in this area, and that's a great one to have on hand as a reference. And then another book I want to mention, because it's meant a lot to me, is called A Rhythm of Prayer by Sarah Bessey. And again, it kind of falls into this nonfiction category. So it's called A Rhythm of Prayer by Sarah Bessey. And it is a book of prayers written by people of various denominations, various faith cultures, people from across the globe who wrote prayers. And it is just a lovely book to have. It stays on my nightstand, and I can pull it out at any point and find one or two. And they're broken up into different sections. So you can find prayers to help you find joy. You can find prayers to help you in your lament, in your sadness, in your grief, in your confusion. You can find funny prayers. You can find quotes. It's, again, I know it's different than the other ones I've mentioned, but it has meant so much to me, and it just stays on my nightstand as kind of a reference and a quick way to feel connected to other people around the world. And so I highly recommend that book as well. All right, and now we're coming to my top three. If I had to pick my top three favorite books of the past few years, probably the past 2.5 to 3 years. And just to give you an idea, my favorite book of all time is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. That's my favorite book of all time. These are my favorite books of the past 3 years, which probably fit into my top 10 possibly. All right, first, in no particular order, Love Song for Ricky Wilde. It's called Love Song for Ricky Wilde, and each of these, funny enough, do have a magic component to them. Because I think I don't know, that's just maybe what I've kind of geared myself towards. It's by Tia Williams, and it's a love story. It's a love story, it's a family story, and it is really a story about a girl who becomes a woman who looks to a way to make the world a better and brighter place. And she finds magic along the way, or magic finds her, I should say. And I just can't say enough about it. Again, I didn't want it to end. It is heartwarming. It is hopeful. It is lovely. And I highly, highly recommend it. So that's called Love Song for Ricky Wilde. The next one is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And this is one that I had on my wait list for months and months and months, and I could never get myself to read it. I just thought, I don't know, there's an octopus on the cover. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to read this. I don't know if I'm going to like it. And I think I was out of books to read, so I finally started it. I love this book. I love this book. I love the characters. Yes, it has an octopus in it. Yes, some of the chapters are you listening to the internal dialogue of the octopus. I am telling you, it works, and you need to go read this book. It follows an older woman through her grief after losing someone important to her, and how she actually finds connection to people, and again, some hope. And a big part of that is her relationship with an octopus and where she works. Just trust me. Please go read this book. It's so lovely. And then I said no particular order, but I am giving you my favorite one last. It's called House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And I get teary-eyed thinking of this book. And this one too, I will say, I've recommended it to people. And I think they read some of it and they look at me and say, what are you talking about? You have to get through the first 3 chapters, okay? Promise me you'll get through the first 3 chapters. It has the most magical characters. And I don't even know if I can explain truly, but there's relationships in it that are, again, beautiful, and it is funny. Like, parts are laugh out loud funny, and it really represents so much more. It represents people who are willing to fight for others, people who are willing to stand up for kids and other people who might not belong, and try to make the world better for them and try to make the world safer. And while they're doing that, they end up making a beautiful, beautiful family and a beautiful home for people who need it. And yes, here too, we're talking, some of those people are a gnome, a small gnome who really likes to dig with her shovels. And it's just lovely. And it's one of my favorites. And you hear me say that word all the time? I said lovely so many times, but that's what I feel like I'm drawn to right now, is relationships that hold, that, again, I feel hopeful and heartwarming at the end. And I will read any of those others that I mentioned, and I get into them and I really like them. But the ones that stick with me are the ones that make me feel like maybe there's some hope in the world, and maybe some of that beauty can be found. And sometimes it's found through books, and that's why I share it here. So thank you for hanging out with me on the summer reading list. Please reach out either on Instagram. I'm Jessica S. Valant. Find me on Instagram or message me. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know if you read any of these. And books are personal, so find what you love. Tell other people about them. Share the world through books. And if you don't like some of these, that's okay too. Let me know what you do love. I would love to hear. And I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening today. I would love it if you could take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It means a lot to us, and it helps our content get out to more women who need it. You can find more of my resources at my website, jessicavalant.com, or find me on YouTube at Jessica Valant and Instagram at Jessica S. Valant.